Here's another example, Facebook. I see a ton of entrepreneurs saying, okay, Facebook's great, it's generic, it works well if you want to be a jack of all trades, master of none, but I'm going to go after a specific segment. The one that I see every week is musicians. I'm going to do a music network or music social network. It's a great idea. Why don't we set up a social network for people who have no money and are cheapskates? Perfect. Awesome. People who live with their mothers their entire lives and or drummers like me. But on the other hand, perhaps it makes sense to do a social network that's targeted to a really good group. How about soccer moms or mothers? Some of these things have been popular. Keep in mind that, let's take the example of soccer moms and Facebook. Yes, maybe it's doing something for soccer moms is a great idea. They have a lot of money, they're really interested, they're really passionate. Facebook doesn't quite do it. You're going to do something special. Maybe you'll do some scheduling thing or whatever the hell you're going to do. Remember that people only have a certain amount of hours in their lives. Your competition might not just be Facebook. It might be internet time. It might be time on the computer. These people, you know, just because the soccer mom likes your network the best doesn't mean they're willing to give up Facebook, and it doesn't mean they're willing to give up time they do email. It doesn't mean they're willing to give up time that they're surfing the net for news. Your competition might just be time. And most people don't think about that. Think about, is your idea so compelling that it's not that they're going to spend more time on the computer, because we can't guarantee that. You've got to be so convinced that they're going to substitute time they're doing other activities for what you want them to do. It's a really important concept. The other thing about the idea is, can you make money from it? And if any of you raise your hand and say, I got this great idea, I'm going to make it on advertising, I'm going to go home. I'm tired of hearing that. Advertising can be a component, but the only way you're really going to make advertising is if you've got 1 million people going to your site, and starting off day one with 1 million people going to your site is fairly difficult. Also, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your babysitter, talk to whoever you want to talk to. Not your babysitter. You know, you may have a babysitter, but I don't. Ask them what they think of the idea. Now remember, people are normally going to tell you good things. Nobody likes to hurt people's feelings, right? So if somebody comes and says, I've got this great idea and I'm really passionate, are you really going to look at me and go, dude, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard? Or are you going to give me the, yeah, that's cool, right? It's not my time I'm wasting. Have fun, Jason. Spend all your time and money that you want. One of the things that our companies, after they fund it, I always tell them is, they'll go to some big company, call it IBM, and they'll say, we've got this great thing we want to do. What do you think? Will you be a customer? Well, IBM's always going to say, sure, go ahead. Why? Because it's not their time and money being wasted, and who knows, maybe you do something cool. But make sure that you're getting real feedback, that you're self-aware, and that the nods are nods of, yeah, I'm in, as opposed to, huh, yeah, all right, when do I get out of this conversation? Also make sure for you engineers out there that you're not looking for a technology in search of a problem. A lot of times, people will choose an idea that's awesome technology, it does something super cool that nobody understands and nobody needs. I really don't care that my fridge can text message me and tell me it's out of milk. I don't, maybe you guys do. Anyway, after choosing the idea, it's time to go build a team. And building a team is actually the most important idea you can do, because even if you sort of screw up on the idea, if you've got a great team, you'll usually be okay. Even if you've invented cold fusion, you pick the wrong team, you're hosed. And that I can prove over 10 years of seeing how these companies work. If great teams usually do pretty well. Poor teams always lose, and that's irrespective of how good their ideas are. Great team, great idea, that's when you come up with something special. So a lot of people will say, well, Jason, I can't find a partner. Like, I would love to find somebody to work with, and I can't. And something's wrong with Boulder, or something's wrong with, you know, it's not me. Well, actually, it's the opposite. You know, it's not the old, hey, it's not you, it's me, I want to break up story. No, it's really you. If you can't find a partner, there's one of two things wrong. Your idea sucks or you suck. And unfortunately, a lot of times you suck. And people just don't want to tell you you suck. It's easy, you know, and in fact, I'll say as a venture capitalist, the hardest thing I do is when somebody actually presents a really compelling idea and they suck, it's how do I tell them that they suck? And that's one of the things I really, really dislike, and I tend to sugarcoat it and be like, yeah, nod my head. Find mentors and advisors. If there's any town that I've ever lived in, which would include Detroit, Dallas, Charlotte, yes, I said Detroit, Dallas, Charlotte, and San Francisco in here, this is Mentor Town, USA. This is the nicest town, easiest town to grab a cup of coffee with. You can email me, jason@foundrygroup.com. I'll take your call or your email or whatever the hell you want. This is the easiest town in the world to find good mentors and advisors. Find them. I see people shaking their heads. Right, Matt? You disagree?
No, I was shaking my head to agree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, pretty much everybody but David Cohen is really accessible and available, and are willing to help you out. And engage these mentors. You know, keep us engaged. If you have an interesting idea and you're cool to work with, we'll keep engaged. And most of us aren't looking for anything in return. It's just the right thing to do. But that goes to bullet point number 3, don't get taken advantage of. There are people in this town and outside this town, and especially in Illinois, who are really happy to take advantage of young entrepreneurs. What are you shaking your head? You weren't the one confused. There are people out there that will try to say, okay, you know, I'll help you out, but give me some equity, or I'll help you out, or pay me. If anybody says they want to get paid for helping you out around this town, move on to the next mentor, because there's plenty of us out there. Be very self-aware. I say it's more attractive than confidence. You need to be self-confident, but being self-aware and being trainable is one of the most sexy things for a mentor to see, right? If you engage somebody who's been doing this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we want to have a conversation. We're happy to teach you. We're happy to learn from you because hopefully it's a mutual relationship. But if you have all the answers and know everything and are super confident and are always right and don't listen, you will quickly burn out your mentor list very, very quickly. And one of the things to do is learn to keep people engaged. And that you can do it in a number of ways. Maybe it's a weekly email that's not too long. Maybe it's, you know, keeping up with people socially. It's coming up with new ideas. It's taking their, every time you get feedback from them, it's closing the loop. And every time somebody gives you a piece of advice, come around and say, you know what, this is a great piece of advice. We followed it and did this. Or upon further reflection, we really appreciate your advice, but it sucked and we did this instead, and here's why. You don't always have to agree with your mentors. Just show that you're at least listening. Keep them engaged. Yeah.
Before you leave that, can you just talk a little bit more why the partner? You know, with a strong mentor network and being involved, why is the partner important?
I think a partner is super important for. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, just for you running your own business, to really have someone you can bounce ideas off of. And nobody in this room, at least that I've met, can do 100% of everything. We all have the things we're better at, we're weaker at some things. Find a partner who helps balance you. And use them as a sounding board. Because, you remember when we were in high school and you used to write the 5-paragraph thesis essays and you thought it was all good and you turned it into your professor or your teacher, what do they call them in high school, and you were sure you rocked it. And then you get this big, what the hell is this logical gap, as you read the paper a billion times and had 8 things that you were thinking of and you filled in the gaps but they never made it down in the paper. And then somebody new, cold-eyed, looked at it and said, this sucks. That's what happens when you run a business if you don't have a partner. You've got to have somebody who's going to keep you honest, have a different mindset than you, and that's the only way I think you can be successful. If you decide to raise money, and we'll talk about that later, it is a massive red flag to anybody who wants to fund a company if you don't have a partner. If you what does that mean? Are you hard to work with? Are you a psycho? What's going on? And in case you're wondering how I found partners, is I pay them off because I am a psycho.